What's up, movie nerds and basketball geeks? Welcome back to MovieBall, probably for the first time. I don't get any views. Today we are continuing the standings predictions, and on this episode we are moving over to the Western Conference, seeds 15 through 9. In other words, the teams I don't think will be making the playoffs. So that's it. That's the intro. Simple as that. I don't want to be talking forever. I don't need another 19-minute video. It probably will be 19 minutes still. I can go on for a long time. I just keep talking. Coming in at last place in the Western Conference, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. I think this is a universal choice because honestly, no fucking cap. You could make an argument for every other team in the West to make the playoffs. Not saying that they all could and that it's likely, but you could make an argument. There's an argument for every team except the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to put my hat back on. I know this is the worst case of hat hair in the entire world, and I'm going to walk over there where I threw it and grab it. Memphis rightfully traded away Marc Gasol, and with their second overall pick selected Ja Morant, which was a pretty clear indicator that they were parting ways with Mike Conley, which is fantastic news because it is rebuild season in Grind City, in Memphis, and, we give this team another 2 years and another top pick to develop, and honestly, they could be pretty scary. I'm talking about maybe possibly conference finals contenders. I know that sounds crazy, but the duo of Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson should be a lethal combo. Add other enticing young players into the mix such as Dillon Brooks, Josh Jackson, and Brandon Clark. If they all pan out decently well, they could be really good, which is a long shot, but the potential they have is huge. Let's not forget that they also have Jonas Valanciunas, who in his short time with Memphis last season averaged about 20 and 10. I'm also purposely leaving out Andre Iguodala because it's not going to happen. Here's the good. Grizzlies fans should be excited for the next era. Their rebuild seems to be coming along pretty fast, and the players that they've acquired are very appealing. Coming in at 14th is sadly the Phoenix Suns. This is unfortunate because for the first time in the Devin Booker era, they actually have a decent enough roster around him to be okay, at least on paper. But as I just said, it's the West and there's just far better teams. Let's take a look at the depth chart. I'm not a fan of Rubio's game anymore, and I don't think it's going to translate well for the Suns. He can't shoot that well, and if he's going to make a difference on offense, he really needs the ball in his hands, but it shouldn't be taken away from Devin Booker. But he's a nice veteran presence, and the rest of the roster, like I said, is pretty decent. Oubre is a very capable 3-and-D player, and Mikal Bridges has that potential as well. Saric should flourish here in helping space the floor and being probably the third option on offense, and they've got a decent rotation of big men behind Ayton, who should progress to about 20 and 12 this season. The good is that it's a solid squad that will definitely show improvement over years past. D-Book and DeAndre Ayton could both have potential all-star caliber campaigns this season. But the bad is that they're still young, and they obviously don't have a good enough of a team just yet to make the playoffs. Finishing in 13th, I've got the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is, again, another unfortunate case of there being so many talented teams in the West. Karl-Anthony Towns is a straight-up beast, the best offensive center in the game, in my opinion. And I just think that he's going to put up a crazy stat line of MVP caliber type numbers this year. However, the team around him is not good enough to compensate for making the playoffs. If Wiggins is going to take that next step, this is absolutely the last year he has to get it together. I think it's already too late for him to really become an all-star caliber player, but I guess there's still hope because no one else on this team is really a scorer. Jeff Teague gets a lot of flack these days, and he's not great, but I still think he's above average, and if he can stay healthy, should be a good playmaker for this squad. Noah Vonleh was a pretty good pickup for them. As a Knicks fan, I don't know why we signed 17 power forwards and chose to let him go, but he's a good rebounder and can surprisingly shoot the three ball decently. And when it comes to Jarrett Culver, he was their top draft pick, and he's got potential to be a scorer and a good defender in this league. And the same thing kind of goes for Josh Okogie. I don't know if he can really be a scorer so much, but he showed that he has a very good defensive mindset on his game, and he's got skill in that department. So if he could get that shooting up a little better, he could transform into a decent enough 3-and-D player. So the good, this team's mostly the same, so they're going to have amazing chemistry, and Towns is going to have monster stat lines all season. The bad, this team's mostly the same. Where the hell is that going to get them when mostly every other team this offseason did something to improve? Not far, I'll tell you. Not far. Coming in at number 12 in the West is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is a fucking weird team. I did not expect Chris Paul to still be on the team at this point. They're both old and young, which bodes well for developing that talent, but keeps them from really getting anywhere. And I, like many others, suspect that Chris Paul, Danilo Gallinari, Dennis Schroeder, and Steven Adams will all be off the team come the trade deadline. But let's go in with the notion that this team doesn't trade anyone. I mean, after all, this is their current roster. So looking at this team, I think it is a lot better than people think it's going to be. However, that's not good enough to get them past the 12th seed in the West. Chris Paul is obviously going to have a much better season than his past couple of years, unless he gets injured again, which is very likely all the same to Gallinari. These are very injury-prone players that can be great when healthy. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has the opportunity to really step up his game this season because everyone's really high on him, and I personally don't see it that much. And of course, Adams is an above-average center who can grab rebounds and defend well. All in all, the good is that it really seems like they're going to try their best to compete and win games, and they'll get a lot more dubs than people think. The bad is that they're going to win for no reason. Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, Danilo Gallinari, and Steven Adams are going to help this team win games, which will make the Thunder get a worse pick than they could have gotten if they weren't on the team or weren't playing or were traded. And I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because they have the Clippers' next 16 picks, but still. Finishing in 11th place is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans with a 40-42 record. That is a very close sniff of the postseason, and I don't see why they can't compete for it. This is the best overall team that the Pelicans have ever had. That 2017-18 team before Cousins' injury comes close, but that's mostly because of the sheer dominance of that Cousins and Davis frontcourt duo. But looking at this team, they have a good to great player at almost every position. Now, obviously, the biggest offseason acquisition here was Zion Williamson, who's going to be immediately good, with no one to really back him up aside from Derek Favors maybe getting minutes at the 4. Then we have 3 really nice shooting guards. Drew, who I think should be traded, but that's a really good player on both sides of the ball. Redick is one of the best shooters that the league has ever seen, and Josh Hart has the potential to be a player like Holiday. But we've also got Lonzo, who looks to finally break out big time this season, and I believe he will. I'm still not quite sold on Ingram, and I want him to be good, but I just don't really think it's a good fit. He plays a lot of ISO ball and kind of, slows the clock down, where this is Lonzo Ball as the point guard, Zion up the break. Like, you don't want to mess that up. That's going to be some fast-paced shit. The good is that this team is good. If this was the Eastern Conference, I could honestly see them being a 7th or maybe even 6th seed. They're young, yes, but they're dangerous enough to compete. The bad is that they're not quite there. Maybe if the West wasn't so stacked this year, they'd have a legitimate chance to sneak into the playoffs, but I think that they're just going to need a couple of more seasons. At the 10th seed, I've got the Sacramento Kings. This might offend some people. They almost made the playoffs last season, so they should only get better, and I believe that they will, marginally. So, again, that's not enough to compete with these heavyweight rosters. This is an attractive young core, but I don't think the valuable pieces that they obtain this offseason will be quite enough to push them past April, but it will be very close regardless. Fox will continue to get better, and Bagley should heavily improve as well. Buddy is one of the best shooters in the NBA, and Ariza is like one of the prime examples of a quality 3-and-D player in NBA history. They're good. But again, I just have belief in 9 other teams to be ahead of this squad. I'm not going to say the good and the bad. I'd just be repeating myself over and over again, so figure it out! And the last team I have missing the playoffs as the 9th seed in the West is the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, they'll probably make it. They never miss. What has it been, 20 years? But I think this is the year that they finally miss out, and I know people have been saying that for like the past 2 or 3 seasons, but with all of the batshit crazy behemoths of teams in the Western Conference, I just don't know if they'll be playing more than 82 games. This is a pretty old and aged team that will get the bulk of the minutes. I'm still pretty high on DeRozan. I think he improved in every aspect last season, well, except for his god-awful three-point shooting, of course, but his rebounding and assist numbers were great in the Spurs system. Aldridge is also still very good, but he's still a bit of a defensive liability. I don't know if they start White or Murray at the point, or maybe put White at the 2 and run Murray at the 1, but either way, they both have potential, so it's kind of going to be hard to figure out, and I'm sure Greg Popovich will figure it out, but I know that Derek White can shoot the 3 ball well, and Murray can't shoot at all. So that's that. The good is that the Spurs are the Spurs. Greg Popovich is probably like the best coach of all time, and they never miss the playoffs. So, I mean, do with that what you will. They also have young talent, and the Spurs are the best at developing players. The bad is that they have a 20-year or more playoff streak. It's got to end at some point, and I think that this is finally the year with 8 other really good teams in the Western Conference. Okie doke, those are my Western Conference playoff misses. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong and angrily comment down below. I don't care what you say, as long as I'm getting comments. That's all that matters. Now it's time to smash the like button. So, I mean, do what you got to do in that scenario. Take yourself to a place. For me, for example, I'll travel to fifth grade. It's my turn in kickball, and I'm about to kick the ball. It's kickball. And I'm over there doing my stretches. I'm next up at bat. I'm in the dugout getting ready. And then I realize, like, even in fifth grade, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna kick this ball. I'm gonna smash it like it's a like button on a YouTube video, specifically MovieBall's account. And then here comes the pitch, from a fifth grader. So, it's going to be pretty slow, pretty poorly pitched. Like, be stronger, be better than a fifth grader, but you're not because you're in fifth grade. And I'm winding up and I kick that ball. It's out of here. It's gone. Like my video. Okay, I'm literally going to press stop recording right now, and then you're not going to be able to hear what I'm saying. See, look, no